Having a healthy balance towards responsibilities starts with you. This is your opportunity to make some healthy changes. That's the specific message from the moon as it's phasing through its last quarter, July 18th, 2025. This particular last quarter is pointing towards examination and release of personal responsibilities. Now, we get a last quarter every single month, and there's always an element of releasing responsibility to them. So even if you're watching this podcast in the future, it's still relevant. Hi, I'm Laura Custo, and I'm here to help you use the lunar phases and astrology to make sense of the world, to calm down any overwhelm by tapping into the movements of the heavens, understanding the energies, and finding what I like to call that moment of liberation where you can say, oh, no wonder I feel like this, and move forward with confidence and clarity. Now, the absolute best way to start understanding how to work with the moon is by following the moon. It's our closest celestial neighbor and it moves the most in the sky. As a result, it has the most, quote unquote, to say to us. It also governs our emotions. So when it comes to finding a solution to feeling overwhelmed or frustrated or feeling anything, really, the moon was nature's gift to us for finding our answers. So to help you get started, I created a free guide for you. It's called the Moon Phase Compass, and you can download it on my website to get you started on understanding how to work with each of the 4 primary moon phases. They cycle through every single month, and working with them is very simple and it's very foundational. In that guide, I give you the 3 simple steps to work with each and every phase. Go ahead and grab that at lauracusto.com/guide, and I will also put a link at the top of the show notes. All right, let's talk about this Aries last quarter moon and what the moon is teaching us about personal responsibility, specifically how to stop feeling responsible for everything. This is such a common trap for some of us. It starts with wanting to help, wanting to be useful, and sometimes wanting to be needed. It is often learned behavior, though, modeled by the adults around us. And it's often deeply ingrained even in some of the communities that we live. While it is well intended as far as where it comes from and where it starts, it has a slippery slope, and there's this tipping point between having responsibility that is truly yours to own and taking on responsibility that isn't yours, which ultimately hurts everyone. And on this last quarter moon that we're having, July 18th, the moon and other planetary energies are primed up to support us in taking a good, solid look at themes of responsibility in our lives and finally making a change that sticks. Exciting, right? Okay, here's how to work with this. Step 1, get your bearings. All last quarter moons are endings. And because we have one every single month, that's why this topic is so applicable. Because the planetary energies, every single month, they always come together to support us in stepping down from responsibilities, in ending commitments, clearing out the clutter, and really just sorting through things, deciding what to keep and what is truly ours, as well as deciding what we need to let go of. Now, when I say get your bearings, all last quarter moons are the ending of a story, and those stories have very specific dates tied to other moon phases, okay? So there's going to be a new moon, a first quarter, a full moon, and then we have the last quarter. Now, they're 9 months apart, so I'm going to walk you through them. The new moon that we want to look at for the start of our clues is April 19th, 2023. If you kept a new moon journal, you'd want to look at your intentions. If you didn't, you'd want to look at what was going on in your life. And most of all, you want to look at how were you feeling? What was your self-talk? Were you positive? Did you have a positive outlook on life, or were things a little more difficult? If you can pin that down, it's a great clue. Now, the second date is the first quarter. That was January 17th, 2024. That was the day when you would have committed to something that is tied to what you experienced on the full moon, which is October 17th, 2024. So all these dates come together, and that October 17th, 2024, if you can't look at all the dates, just go look at that one. What was the truth that came to light? What was apparent and what was revealed then? Were there any surprises, or just what was the reality? Now, if you know the area in your chart that Aries oversees, the area of life, that's the area that you want to look at, because that's where this is all going to be focused and where the energies are going to be most powerful. If you would like to know what area of life it represents for you, you can check out my membership called Moon Chat. That's at lauracusto.com/membership, and I'll put a link for that in the show notes. But with that membership, you will literally get your chart mapped for you, and every single moon phase, I send you a notification letting you know the area of life that it's activating, as well as a little summary of these emails and specific steps on how to work with that energy every phase. But let's get back to getting your bearings here. So you're going to want to look at those dates. Again, the big one is October 17th, 2024, and that full moon, as far as the truth that came to light. If you want to go back a little farther, you want to look for intentions and how you were feeling about life on April 19th, 2023. And finally, any action, any commitments that you made, not in your head, but with the external world. Did you sign up for something? Did you buy something? Did you take a class? That sort of a thing. That date would be January 17th, 2024. Okay, so we get our bearings. We understand where we're at this time in the world. All right, step 2. Step 2 is to lean into the fact that this is an Aries. Aries is the sign that rules the self. So this last quarter moon is really about you and your individual reality and your individual world. This isn't about being greedy. I want to make mention of that. It's about putting on your oxygen mask more than anything else. You can't help others if you're suffocating or you're running around worried about everything. And so once you piece together what the story might be in step 1, think about you and how it's impacting your energy and your ability to really show up, truly self-sourced, right? We can't give from an empty cup. We need to fill up our own cup so that it's constantly overflowing, right? So take a deep breath. Think about what is true for you. And really start with your physical space too, right here, right now. Aries is very active and it's very energetic. So it makes sense to start with your energy. Breathe in and imagine a bubble around you. How big does it naturally feel like it is? And then try this exercise. Snap your fingers, and every time you snap your fingers, imagine a slightly different bubble. And try on a few sizes to see which one feels really, really good. And then you can go ahead and do that exercise from time to time and just imagine you're creating this bubble of energy around you. That's your energy. It's your space. And in your quiet moments and in your alone time, you have the ability to nurture yourself and really fill up that space with your energy and truly, again, make it self-sourced. Because we owe it to ourselves to maintain ownership of our energy. So show up for yourself. Only then can you show up for others. All right, so step 3. Now we're going to examine structures outside of us and we're going to take action, okay? Because this last quarter, like all quarter moons, they're about taking external action. The first quarter is taking external action to move something along. The last quarter is taking external action to really harvest and create space, to clear out clutter, to keep what's worth keeping and let the rest fall away. So again, it involves taking action. I like to use the analogy of hoarding. If you have a lot of things in your life, it's because you're hoarding on some way. It could be actual things or it could be energetic, right? And if you feel like you're responsible for everything, it's probably more of an energetic and emotional hoarding. You need to release, otherwise you can't grow and take on new. So what we have happening here right now, and there's this, it's going to last into next year as well, but there's this long-standing aspect between some of the outer planets. I talked about it in my video last week, but we have the very, very outer planets, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto. They are making harmonious angles to one another, and the 3 outer planets, with the exception of Saturn, will continue to be making these harmonious aspects for the next few years because they move so slowly. So what we have happening, though, specifically on this last quarter is that Saturn has turned retrograde. And Saturn's right there in the mix. It's sitting there with Neptune. And Saturn rules structure. It rules foundational elements. It rules responsibility. So that's why it's a really, really good thing to look at here at this last quarter. But the fact that it has turned retrograde, well, this is the time of the year when we will be called to re-examine, go back over, because when planets retrograde, they appear to be moving backwards in the sky, going back over points that they've already gone through in the sky. So we're going to go back over Saturn themes. We're going to go back over our responsibilities. We're going to look at them. We're going to review them. Go back over commitments that we've made, structures in our life. And if we don't do it during retrograde, oftentimes the universe catches up with us and they sort of demand that we do it later. So it's always best to be proactive here. If you're aware of what's going on, you can use the energy. Now, these long-standing energies in these outward planets, they're in new signs right now. They moved from water and earth signs, very feminine inward signs, to air, yang, outward signs. And they're getting busier and they're getting more active and they're harmoniously talking to each other. So we're just getting the first taste of it right now. We're going to see some retrograde movement with them. Some of them will move back into the earthly, more feminine elements. But next year at this time, when we have the Aries last quarter, they will all firmly be, all three of those most outer planets will be at 4 degrees of their signs, exactly 4 degrees. But Saturn won't be as close. So it won't be as activated as it is today, here on this last quarter. But the energies will be more established. So use this year as an opportunity to jumpstart this cleanse in this sense, this cleanse around your personal energy. Because again, Saturn is in Aries too. It's sitting there, it's focused on the self. So what are you taking on versus what really belongs to others? And ask yourself some tough questions. What if I just stopped doing that? Would it really fall apart? Maybe yes, maybe no though. And what am I responsible for teaching to others? So there's an interesting one. And this is a really great example with children. You're ultimately responsible for teaching your children responsibility. By not teaching your children responsibility, you're not fulfilling one of your responsibilities, and you are doing your children a disservice. Are they going to be able to grow up and be as responsible as you are? Are they going to be able to be self-sufficient adults? And then the last question, is this really how I want to live? Is this what I want my life to stand for? Again, if you are one of those people that finds yourself fairly often worried or overwhelmed about feeling responsible for everything, this is your moment in time to look at that honestly and say, do I really want this? I could change. Could I change? Yes, you can. So Saturn is going to be retrograde through November 28th of this year. So you have 4 months to really work on these things. But this moment in time, this last quarter, is your signal. It's the big signal because it's a last quarter focused on releasing. And we're here in Aries, the self, with Saturn. So release responsibilities. This is your signal. And Saturn has just gone retrograde, just 5 days ago. Okay? So this is your moment. This is your indicator. It's time to start. Get things in motion. All right. To recap, how to stop feeling responsible for everything. It starts with you. So step 1, use those last quarter moons. They happen every single month. They're when we need to release and when we need to end things. And we have to end things and stop doing things in order for the new to come in. And to that end, don't forget to go grab my guide, the Moon Phase Compass. It's at lauracusto.com/guide. I'll put a link at the top of the show notes. But again, you get that foundational information on how to work with each and every moon phase. If you really want to do this, start with that free guide. Step 2, lean into your energy first. Again, this is that last quarter in Aries. It's about the self. Start with you and your world and your energy. Be responsible for your emotional world and your emotional boundaries. And finally, step 3, use this Saturn retrograde. It just went retrograde and it's focused on structure because it's Saturn, and it's focused on the self because it's in Aries. So use it to clean up structures in your life. All right, there you have it. I hope that you enjoyed this episode and it sparked some interesting thoughts for you on how to work with this last quarter moon. To that end, I would love to hear from you if it did. Is there something that you are now realizing that you are ready to release, or something that you are ready to teach others that you have traditionally been responsible for? Please drop that in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this episode and think someone else would benefit from it, please share it with them. With that, I will see you next week where we talk about the new moon happening in Leo. With that, have a great week and take care.